So, if you haven't heard of it yet, May December is a recent drama that was released on Netflix. The film stars Julianne Moore and Natalie Portman, as well as Charles Melton from Riverdale fame. Going into the film, I knew absolutely nothing about the plot or story, but went in excited because it was a film recommended by some good friends. And to my delight, the film was actually pretty damn great. There's a lot to love about this movie, but this isn't a review. Instead, I opted to craft a video essay that breaks down one of the more prominent thematic messages in the film and how it succeeds in making the film both hard to watch, yet very emotionally resonant. So with that out of the way, let's get into it. May December follows the story of an actress played by Natalie Portman who visits with a family to do research on the mother as she is playing her in an upcoming film based on her life. Julianne Moore plays the mother named Gracie, and it is revealed that when Gracie was 36 years old, despite being married with a family, she began a sexual relationship with a 13-year-old boy named Joe, played by Charles Melton. Joe and Gracie worked at a small pet shop together and were ultimately busted for their affair in the stockroom of said pet shop. This led to Gracie being arrested, however, she had gotten pregnant. She ultimately had the child, and her and Joe remained in a relationship afterwards, leading to them having a set of twins. The subject matter alone is already fairly uncomfortable, but it's emphasized because for a lot of the film, Joe's character is fairly adamant that he was not a victim, that he indeed wanted it regardless of whether he was 13 or not. Things are even furthered when it's shown repeatedly that Gracie does not feel bad about what transpired, and acts as if she's done nothing wrong. It's a very strange scenario where the entire world seems to look in on these characters as being in a really bad and unhealthy situation, but to them it's not problematic in the slightest. However, as the film progresses and the layers of these characters are peeled back, the truth of the matter is revealed more and more. These characters haven't moved on from the troubling events of their past, they've completely ignored them. Similar to my video essay on Showtime's Yellow Jacket, one thing about the past, about trauma, about anything that has significantly impacted you emotionally throughout your life, is that in order to move on from it or to grow from it, you have to first acknowledge it. Leaving your trauma in the past unattended to is like setting a small fire in your basement and hoping that because it's out of sight that it'll become out of mind. When the truth of the matter is that unfortunately we do live in a world where if a tree falls and nobody is around to hear it, it still does make a sound. Point being that just because you don't see something doesn't mean it's not there. Metaphors and analogies aside, the point I'm trying to make is that both Joe and Gracie ignore the past. It's clear from a scene towards the end of the film that Joe has feelings and thoughts that he's never been able to freely express, as Gracie shuts him down almost immediately. And it's something that he's really seemingly never thought about too much until Natalie Portman enters their lives and begins unraveling their false senses of security. However, Joe and Gracie, despite both ignoring the past, live their lives very differently. And the difference is in the details, but specifically how they treat other people. One of the most prominent scenes in the film occurs at Joe and Gracie's children's graduation dinner. There it is revealed by their eldest daughter, the one who was conceived when Joe was 13, that when she graduated, Gracie had gotten her a scale. Gracie doesn't understand why this is a harmful or insensitive gift towards her daughter, thinking nothing of it, as she herself was given this by her own mother for her graduation. The key point there is that Gracie doesn't think of others' opinions or feelings. She explicitly tells Joe in their argument that she does not care who was in charge or that he was 13 when they had their sexual encounters. Joe, on the other hand, is shown to be a very loving, comforting, and caring person. This is seen in no better way than how he treats his caterpillars throughout the film, because when he was growing up, he was not given the love and warmth that he desired, the care and nurturing that is crucial to a child's happiness. So in turn, he treats his caterpillars with all of the love and compassion he missed out on, so they can grow into beautiful butterflies. His compassion is shown yet again in the scene where he smokes weed with his son for the first time. This leads to him having an emotional breakdown, and when his son says, "Dad, you don't have to worry about me," Joe responds by saying, "It's all I do." A truly heartbreaking and emotional moment between Joe and his son. As with his bugs, it's shown that Joe clearly cares for his children and wants to make sure they also receive that same love and warmth that he was not given as a child, the same lack of emotional comfort that led to Gracie manipulating and taking advantage of him at a young age. See, while neither Joe or Gracie live truly healthy lives because, as mentioned, both of them refuse to accept the past, instead choosing to ignore it as if it were some fictional event and not their real lives. The difference in who they became as people after those events is vastly different because of who they are as people. Gracie never felt she did anything wrong, so with nothing to be sorry about, and her inability to reflect on her past and her actions, she never grew. She was a caterpillar who stayed in their cocoon, unable to break out of it. She never desired to do or be better. While Joe, on the other hand, does ignore his own trauma, but realizes he's missed out on a really important aspect of life: compassion. So he chooses to course correct, to treat others, especially his own children and his bugs, as silly as it may be, with all of the love, compassion, empathy, and warmth that has been missing from his own life. And over the course of the film, starts acknowledging his own trauma, and unlike Gracie, begins forming the cracks to break out of his cocoon, becoming a beautiful butterfly. No longer just setting the fire in the basement and not attending to it, but going downstairs to blow it out. Well guys, I hope you liked the video. If you did, please make sure to click the like button, subscribe if you want to hear more from me, click the little bell notification button so you get notified when I post new content, and as always, I will see you on the next video.